you wake up just every day with like a list of tasks that you want to do, like write this new blog post, send out 15 cold emails? Are you very regimented, or how do you go about spending your day to day, or how do you spend your days?
So, I think, so my workflow for scheduling and allocating time is, I create this list of yearly goals, all the things I want to accomplish this year, defined by like what 5 areas of my life are most important. And every month, at the beginning of that month, I go ahead and I outline like what goals I want to focus on and accomplish that month. And then every week on Sunday, I spend an hour figuring out how I can accomplish those goals and what tasks I need to do. And then every single morning, I wake up and then I plan out what I'm going to do to accomplish those tasks. It's kind of a funnel down to the specific day. And then the most important part is I actually schedule those tasks, so that I actually do them. Because to-do lists are really easy, and it's really easy to do the easy stuff on the to-do list. When you actually schedule out like what you're going to do, it makes it much easier to actually abide by doing hard stuff. So I think if you want to get more shit done, you have to be cognizant of the value of planning and scheduling, and take one step back and take an hour out of your week on the weekends, take 10 minutes a day every morning to plan and schedule your days so that you're incredibly intentional with your time instead of being incredibly reactionary and doing a whole lot of stuff but not doing anything that's important. And what I do is I'm pretty much up at 6 a.m. every day, and I do the hardest, most important things to me from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. at a time when no one can distract me. I have no excuse not to do it except for laziness. Because if you have a nights and weekends project that you really want to accomplish, you save it for the night, there's a million distractions, your willpower is diminished. There's a million reasons not to do it. No one's asking you for beers to go get beers at 6 a.m. Right? It's just you and whatever you need to get done. If you don't get it done, it's because you didn't get it done. So I want to remove as much external friction to accomplishment, what I want to get done as possible, and I do that by waking up early.
Just a quick question going back to the whole task stuff. Is there any sort of apps you're using, or it's just a bunch of post-it notes on a big plain board or something?
Is this TV work?
Yeah.
So I use this system called 5 Boxes. I use a system called 5 Boxes. So I think there's like just inherent flaws in to-do lists because basically to-do lists don't allow for proper geez, there's some bad stuff on here. Whatever. Let me see if I can get one of my to-do lists on here without actually all my stuff. Okay. Okay, so essentially, this is my daily planner. Basically, when you create a to-do list, the biggest flaw of to-do list is the fact that they're not conducive to prioritization, right? So you have a list of 15 items long, it's incredibly hard to order those in order of importance, right? So what happens is you get a lot done, but you don't get the important things right. And you're also not accountable to all areas of your life. So you could be kicking ass at work, but you could be a crappy boyfriend, an absent son, and in terrible shape. So what I do is, I got this from a guy named Peter Bregman. I identify the 5 most important areas of my life. That's where I'm going to spend 95% of my time. For me, these are be excellent at my job, share and spread my ideas, have fun and take care of myself, be present with family and friends, grow spiritually and personally, other 5%. these 5 right here, I'm spending 95% of my time. And essentially what I do is every morning I allocate the tasks in each one of these buckets, right? So I create mini to-do lists that are in alignment with all the areas of my life that are important to me, which makes them incredibly more easy to manage. Because it's easier to prioritize a list of 3 than a list of 15. And then what I do is, and this is Trello, by the way. I use Trello to do this. And this is like Daily Planner Tuesday. So I have Daily Planner Monday through Sunday. And then I have a weekly planner that has all the goals of the week I want to accomplish. So, this makes it easier to prioritize. It also makes me easier to stay accountable in all areas of my life that are important to me, right? Because guess what? Like, if the have fun and take care of myself is empty every day, and my work thing is this every day, like, guess what? Like, I'm not allowing myself to have any fun, thus I'm not happy, and I need to change that. And this is a visual depiction that allows me to remind myself of that, and thus calibrate my actions accordingly. So I do this every morning. I check them off as I go. I schedule them, schedule the times in after I do this, and this just helps me get things done. And I can say stuff like, okay, you know what, like, I'm just gonna focus on work and being present with family and friends for the first 12 hours of my day, whatever it is. And all I have to look at is 4 things instead of 15 things. So that's how those are the apps I use to schedule my time.
So, I'm pretty familiar with Trello and how it works. So, you being a person of your magnitude, are you working in groups where the groups are also sharing on different boards on Trello, or?
I just use it from a personal standpoint.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I just use it for my own. I actually don't do any like collaborative planning outside of like Google Calendar. I work on a small team, just me and one other guy. So.
With that scheduling, I'm thinking about how you talk about your follow-up with different individuals, folks that you're looking to engage and build relationships with. Say for the people that you're trying to not go cold, or people that you just met, do you also schedule those interactions like, okay, I need to talk to this guy in 2 weeks because he's having a crazy week next week. Do you also do that, or like how do you manage those tasks?
Yeah, so I guess like, are you talking about like how to like stay on top of the network essentially?
Within
or
the
like
network,
the relationship building process?
Because that's that kind of compounds into everything. I mean, truth be told, yep, I'll schedule time to talk with my mom. I mean, I do. So it's the same thing. I'm just like, how do we continue to? I'm just looking to see how you have handled it in terms of building those relationships, whether they're personal, networking, collaborations, and the like.
Yeah. So I think the answer is focus. So like, it'd be very easy for me to like, I'm gonna build a relationship with like 23 people this month. It's like, I'll just focus on one person, 1 or 2 people.
Right.
And then what I do is I use a tool called Boomerang. When I ping someone, I'll go ahead and find a message in the sent folder, and then I'll boomerang. Are you familiar with Boomerang?
I've played around with it.
I'll find it in the sent folder, and then I'll message it back to me in like a month or 2 weeks or whatever interval I want, and that'll serve as a prompt to remind me to send that person something else. I also use a tool called Nutshell Mail. It's like a lot of people that I'm like building relationships with, at least not directly in alignment with my job, are people on social media, people on Twitter. So I use this tool called Nutshell Mail, where I create a Twitter list of like a few people I'm trying to build a relationship with, and then Nutshell Mail it'll essentially send me interactions on social media sites in my inbox every day at a specified time. So I can get all the interactions of all those people, just that list of people, maybe that 3-4 people, in my inbox every morning. And I can look at that as a way like, okay, can I add any value here? And I don't have any time, I don't have the time to like sit around Twitter and be like, Maybe they said something. Maybe they said
Scroll,
something.
scroll.
Yeah. So I just use nutshell mail to isolate those people, and then just take a quick glance every day if they say anything important. But I think the key is like, just focusing on a few people instead of like trying to maximize everyone, because it just becomes too much to manage, and what happens is like you end up not really building an awesome relationship with anybody.
Right. Thank you.
Can we go back to the cold calling where you said when you call somebody you say, can you help me out? What do you say after that?
Yeah, so it depends like the context and like where I'm at in the process, right? It's very important to understand what the goal of the call is, right? Because if I'm just trying to find out who the right person is, that's very different than if I know who the right person is and I'm trying to get that person to have a meeting with me. So number one thing, establish what is the goal of a particular call. And I think it's important to understand that when you cold call someone, you're interrupting their day. Thus, they're not primed to be receptive to your pitch. So what you want to, the goal of a cold call, in my opinion, the only goal of a cold call should be to find out who a decision maker is or set a meeting so that you can get them in a situation where they're conducive to being pitched instead of in the middle of something trying to sell them something. So when I'm trying to find a decision maker, I'll say, hey, Scott Britton here from Single Platform, Scott Britton from Single Platform here. I was hoping maybe you could help me out. And then I'll say, I was trying to connect with the person who manages specific initiative X. Any chance you know who that would be? And then they'll give me a name. And once I have the name, at that point, that's all I need, because I'll use that person's name to then approach via email, because I think that that's an optimal way to approach the people that I'm targeting. They're used to communicating on email, and I'd rather connect with them and allow them to process my inquiry on their time instead of interrupting their day to talk to them. It's not where I want to start off a relationship. So, I'll ask if they know who the right person is. If they say yes, I'll say, I'll just go for the gold and say, hey, all right, do you happen to have their email handy? I'd love to send them something on X. If they say no, I can't do that, that's fine. I already got the name, I can guess the email. If they say, no, sorry, I don't know who it is, the next question is that's okay. Any idea who might know who that person might be that I can connect with? And then you just go and repeat the same process until you get there. Trying to actually get a meeting with somebody, it's a little bit different. You know you're talking to the right person. So, hey, Scott Britton from Single Platform here. And usually at this point, I would have sent them an email. So I'll reference that and say, hey, I sent you an email on X, Y, and Z. Did you happen to get a chance to see it? And maybe they'll say yes. Yeah, I wanted to connect with you about this. Is that something you guys have ever considered? And we'll say yes, no, maybe. Let's just assume they say yes. I say, great. I know you're probably in the middle of something right now, and I'm sorry for interrupting you, but it would be great to connect further on this at a time that's more convenient for you. Because I want to acknowledge to that person that I'm interrupting them and apologize for it. And I'll say, do you have 10 minutes next week, 10 minutes next week? Do you have your calendar open? Whatever it is. But I try to make it a lot of questions so that it seems like an interaction instead of me just pitching. And I never want to pitch them because I know that they're probably multitasking. I just want to get a meeting to pitch them when they're ready to be receptive to it.
Great, thanks.
Sure.
I've got a question. This has happened to me a couple times. So I'll connect to someone that's maybe at a VP level at an organization. We have a great conversation, but it just doesn't seem like after I speak to them a number of times, if they're the right individual per se, they might have a narrow view of the organization or doing something slightly different. And I want to now talk to their senior person, like maybe the senior VP or the CFO or something. But I don't want to damage necessarily that relationship or have him then say, oh, I've already spoken to this guy or whatever? I mean, what's a good way to start to move up the organization?
So when I finish a first call, my question is always, so when decisions like this are typically made, is there anybody else that's typically involved? Or who else typically gets involved when decisions like this are made? And that's a polite way of saying, are you the decision maker? And they'll, sometimes they'll say, oh, we typically like involve our, like the VP of marketing and then maybe the product person or whatever. And I'll say, great. Or you can say something like, when you guys make decisions like this, what are typically the next steps? And then what I try to do is I try to insert myself into the equation of owning the internal pitch. Because what happens a lot of times is when you pitch someone and then they're responsible for going in and pitching the organization, you're effectively letting somebody who's learned about your product for 7 minutes go and try to sell it internally. There's no way that person can sell it as good as you. So I'll say, listen, I know that you're going to need to talk to your boss about this, or VP of marketing or CFO or whatever. I know that person's probably going to have a ton of questions. And why don't we just make this easier on everybody and set up some time for me to go over this with both of you? And effectively what I've done is I've maintained ball control, and now I'm the one pitching. And a lot of times that person will, I send them, you have to realize that they're going to be forwarding. So I write, understanding that, I'll just arm them with like great data points or news about competitors or whatever it is, things that compel action, using that person as a vehicle to reach that other person. I never want to go around that person, because that person's then going to be pissed at me and think that I'm trying to big time. So I think you have to try to like mitigate those instances by figuring out who the other person is early on and inserting yourself into the equation. And if you can't, one thing that I like to do is become friends with that person and try to get them to elicit that information. So like I'll be very diligent about taking not only notes on our interaction, but notes on their personal lives. What sports team do you like? What do you like to do for fun? And I'm constantly just sending them stuff that's related to those things and completely unrelated to our deal or interaction. And that engenders a friendship. And then when I reach out to them and say, hey, what's going on? I just wanted to get a status report on your end. And that person will actually give me the real deal and say, my VP of marketing is mentioning this. And a lot of times it's hard to get that when somebody feels no connection to you. So that's like where the additional rapport comes into play.